Yo, what's up? Going on? What? That was too many greetings, I think, that my brain tried to unfold just now. So, hey, welcome in. Ram Showcase Live every Monday, streaming right here on YouTube as well as Facebook. Just taking care of a couple of things here. Oh, it's over there. Oof, we're off to a hot start. What the heck is going on, though? We have a game that we've played, which is pretty exciting stuff. I'm going to share a link in the comment section right now. If anybody would like to join and come hang out with me, that's obviously okay. That's what we do here on Ram Showcase Live. Yeah. Hello, let the panic start. Yeah, feel free, everybody. Go ahead and panic. The Rams did lose 34-17 to the Chargers in the preseason, which I know to some fans means that, it's time to just cry. So that's cool. I'm not in that grouping, mainly because we saw 40 dudes touch an NFL field for the first time in their lives. So no, I'm not worried about it yet. I'm not concerned. I'm sitting here like, is there a panic button? I don't have a panic button, at least on my side. I don't know what you can see on your side of this screen, but on my end, no panic buttons. So I don't know what to tell you here. But yeah, there was and obviously not everybody touched the field. Obviously, like Dress or Win didn't touch the field. So there's a lot of different moving pieces when we get into preseason and stuff like that. We're looking for certain things. Gosh, a lot of this stuff I do want to talk about as part of the as part of my podcast. As far as like I'm going to have a full segment of like stock up, stock down kind of guys, but we'll absolutely be talking about them. As I'm sure we get some questions tonight and different conversations tonight and such like that. So speaking of different conversations tonight, one of the sickest YouTube channels that even exists, not just Rams specific, but just in general. We do have the host of it sitting in the wings right now, waiting to be brought on. But first of all, I just want to talk about how cool he is because, and the thing is, too, you guys already know. You already know that this guy's awesome. Doing the game streams is something that I have a massive amount of respect for because as a person who does like to consume beers and also likes to yell, I don't know if I could put myself in front of you this entire time, like for a 3-hour stretch of me watching the Rams do something. That's not good content. It wouldn't be family friendly. That kind of stuff needs to happen behind closed doors. But all of that being said, let's go ahead and bring him in. Payo, what is up, dude?
Joe, it's been too long since we've collabed, and for the record, I'm sure if you hosted a watch party, you might get demonetized, but I'm sure a lot of people would love to see that.
Joke's on you, Payo. You can't get double demonetized.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. I'm sorry. Sore spot.
Yeah. I can no longer make money on YouTube. I've been told to not even try. So they've in their communications were like, don't even apply again. Don't you think about it. So.
Oh man.
All right. Now I'm just doing it for the love of the game, dude.
So first off, Sheriff Joe, thanks for hosting it. I've wanted to come on these for like the past month, but just bad internet connections and on the road and things like that. But we got a great. We have so much to talk about tonight. It's amazing what one preseason game can do. One insignificant, like in the reality of it, the outcome of that game is so insignificant, right? Like preseason wins don't help you in the regular season. They're not like a tiebreaker or something like that, even though I know Mike Florio wants them to be. It's amazing. And that's one of the things I love about football. I love about this team is that a preseason game where a lot of those players won't make the final roster, we have so much to talk about. So let's get into it, man.
Honestly, so first and foremost, so you're right. Such an insignificant game, right? Like in a week and a half, if somebody asks us like what the score of the game was, we're gonna have to sit and think about it. You know what I mean? Like that's how insignificant this stuff is. Yeah. Before we hop into all the action, though, is that a soul wall behind you, dude?
Yeah, dude. I got the paint for it. I have to be honest, it's a little glossier than I wanted it to be. So I'm working at building my studio. I got some work to do with lighting. I got to get more merch, try and catch up to you, even though I know I'm never going to get there. But
I've got like more hats to add. I've still got a whole stack of towels here that I'm trying to. Dude, it's problematic, all right. To be a person who tries to look cool in front of the internet, because let's face it, that's all we're doing here. So
totally.
But like to try to like make it look all nice and fancy and stuff like that. And that's actually no one's commented on this Peo yet, but and I'm not even going to tell you. I think you kind of know a little bit why, but I'm not even going to explain why it's different now as opposed to just 2 weeks ago, and why there's a new looking setup over here on my end.
I'm looking. Did you move?
No,
you're in your living room, right?
Yeah. But it's different from just even 2 weeks ago. But I'm not even gonna. We don't even have to dive into that.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, you'll know soon enough, Peo. Stop pressuring me. All right. God. All right. Anyway, let's get into this game, man. So obviously, like I've got a lot of stuff in my own notes, and a lot of that stuff is going to be podcast related notes. Yeah. So I'll kind of be like, I don't want to say vague here because we're talking about it, but I do have some things kind of structured for the podcast. So ultimately, man, I wanted to see from your perspective, were you surprised at all on Brett Rippon starting at quarterback instead of Stetson Bennett?
At first, a little bit, but then I remembered that in the first preseason game, it's not uncommon when a quarterback battle is going on to have like the younger quarterback, like or the least experienced one, go on second. And I saw someone else like say that on Twitter, and I was like, you know what, that actually makes a lot of sense. For in terms of like experience and things like that. I will say, I think what I enjoyed about this preseason is that the Rams are taking a different approach because they clearly have a huge focus on player development, and rightfully so with so many rookies, right? And with Rippon starting, I was like, okay, like it's cool that he's there, but like we all want to see Stetson Bennett, right? And so it almost looked like as soon as Bennett came in there was just this new energy, this new, like, hey, we want to succeed for this guy. And there's obviously stuff you can critique and for Bennett to work on, but I think he looked as good as any other rookie QB this first week of the preseason.
I think so far we can confidently say that he is one of the better rookie quarterbacks that's played in the first week of preseason. But that's obviously
whatever that's worth.
We need to unofficially tag that on every single comment that we're making is like on the first preseason game.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it was definitely a different energy. I was surprised to see it happen, and hearing about how he was like pretty nervous to start, I think also makes sense into just let the veteran guy come out first and like kind of you get the whole environment, let the game kick off and stuff like that. Yeah. Kind of like let everybody kind of start to settle in a little bit, and then put in Stetson Bennett. So I think he played awesome, man. There was like you said, there's definitely things that we can pick apart. And I mean, obviously he's a rookie in his first preseason game. Of course he wasn't perfect, and nobody would be perfect in that situation. And I'm sure like the stuff that's on tape right now is this stuff like the pocket collapsing, so he fails backwards. That's obviously going to come up in like that's one of those things that like I'm not worried about. I'm not like, oh yeah, but he's going to do this every time because like that feels like such a coachable thing to be like, hey, by the way, don't bail 20 yards backwards when the pocket collapses. Like,
and we got to shout out Edwin here. And I know me and Edwin always see each other in comment sections of like the Rams YouTube channel or like Jake Alboga or like wherever on the internet. Me and Edwin often run into each other. But honestly, my favorite thing that I saw from Stetson Bennett, and this is again like 2 days later, I really love the decisiveness that he had, where sometimes in the past with Rams backup quarterbacks, without naming names, we've seen some, pitter patter on the ball. We've seen some, late throws that went high, things like that. And I think, just in terms of like the actual belonging on the football field, Stetson Bennett looked like a guy.
Dude, absolutely. You mentioned that that he wasn't shy to pull the trigger, and that we've had some guys in the past that would kind of lead some balls up tops and stuff like that. But I would say there's a few different examples in that game specifically where I was kind of like, okay, this is pretty sweet stuff. Is because first of all, comparatively, the very next day I watched Trey Lance play for the Niners, and he looked like he didn't know what football was. You know what I mean? So like he looked panicky. He looked very just nervous back there the entire time. And Bennett did for a couple of plays, but then kind of settled in and was able to get it done. But then there was a play in the fourth quarter where he threw it low to Lance McCutcheon, and he needed to. Otherwise, Lance was going to get absolutely lit up. And that was one of the plays where it's like that seems so insignificant when you're like, if you're not like a major hardcore football fan, like that's a play where you're like, oh, he didn't lead the receiver or he just threw it low, something like that. It's like, but all things considered, I think that was the only place to put that football to also not get your receiver murdered in the middle of the football field.
Yeah.
You know, so that kind of stuff there, those two examples of things where I was like, okay, no, this is actually really good. And he's doing an awesome job. Those are my two examples there. Obviously a touchdown, but you know.
Yeah. I'm so thankful. So I'm doing this thing where like significant clips from my watch party, I'm editing it out and syncing it up, kind of like what Tom Grassi and Brandon Perna do.
Yeah.
And it's fun to relive those moments, right? And I even as I was editing it, I was like, man, Stetson Bennett's first preseason touchdown throw to Puka Nacua. I'm okay with that. Like, because these are two guys that look like they're going to be on our team for at least 4 years, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for these young bucks, as they say.
And Puka, man, I gotta say about Puka that like watching him, like it wasn't necessarily the entire plays. It's like because again, it's watching preseason games has to be done in like such a different way. Where like a bad play can be a good thing for certain players. Like where you're like, yeah, I know that play didn't work out, but look at it, like this guy did this, or sometimes on the opposite side, sometimes you can see a good play. We have a pass to Tyler Johnson that went for a first down, which is ultimately a good play, but Bruss got absolutely smoked on it, which is what he did all day long, which is really frustrating to watch. But like that's like the kind of stuff that I'm watching where it's like, man, if he doesn't get rid of the ball though, he's getting leveled back here because of Bruss. And so yeah, there's different things and different ways to watch the preseason, and it is very like I think player specific. Like you gotta like it's like, oh well, this guy did awesome there, so who cares, you know?
Yeah.
But is there anything like that on the offensive side specifically that you kind of like that really jumped out to you as far as anybody's played, good or bad?
You know, I'm gonna say like rewatching the highlights of it, seeing Demarcus Robinson and Ty Johnson in that game made me realize why we signed two veteran wide receivers who have been in this league for a while. And I think it's a fair criticism to say last year we didn't have the depth at receiver that we needed, right? Yeah. And when Kupp went down, Van was banged up and injured. Ben Skronik and Tutu had some moments, but they were second-year players last year, third year this year, and you're hoping they take that step forward. But I do see why we brought in two veteran wide receivers that, if nothing else, they can be sure-handed and help move chains, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Demarcus Robinson has been the name we've heard in camp a lot. And then Tyler Johnson, he was the one we saw in game. So I like that both of the guys that we've brought in as veterans in that spot have made their names somewhere. You know what I mean? Like whether that was Robinson during the practices or Johnson in the game. And it was one of those weird things too, where it's like we have so much turnover this year that there was even a time where, and I'm watching in silence because I was at work, but it's like I see 19 Johnson and my brain is like, who is this? It's like, what? And then it's like, oh yeah, of course, Tyler Johnson. Like I had to like take a second to be like, who the heck is that? Or Jordan Jones flying around.
Yeah.
That was one where on his first tackle, I was like, Jones, like Jones? What the heck? And but that's gonna be this preseason, especially for guys like us who pay super close attention and then talk about a lot of these guys. You know, it's gonna be There's a lot of guys where it's like, ooh, I don't know about that one, man. I was surprised to see that the Rams cut or waived LeCount today, man. What did you think about that move?
Yeah, again, I was surprised by it, but at the same time, the cuts got to start coming. And I think this year is the first year the NFL like roster building. They moved around the deadlines of like when the cuts have to be. So there's fewer cuts, but the cuts have to be more severe when they happen. So we do have to get this down to a 53-man roster and a practice squad, right? So you're cheering for guys, but I was kind of surprised that the first cut was a DB.
I think ultimately, because I think also with the cut schedule, they're all later now. Like you don't have to make decisions right away, which is helpful. And I think COVID helps a lot with that. Of like, I think teams were kind of making a push of like, hey, we can't evaluate these guys if we're not doing preseason games. Like we need to push this and stuff like that. But either way, there is definitely guys where it's like you can already see it's like, okay, well, this isn't a final 53 guy, but there's also a good chunk of guys where maybe we haven't been thinking of them as final 53 guys, but are maybe now based on this one game, at least making their case for it. Was there any names like that jumped out to you?
I think, you know what, I'll say this, Ronnie Rivers.
Oh.
Is like he had the one run that got called back, but I have flashbacks to Malcolm. Do you remember Malcolm Brown's preseason where he like secured his spot as like a Ram?
Uh-huh.
I feel like Ronnie Rivers, he's been with the team now for a little bit, and if he can put some more runs together in his opportunities in these last two preseason games, I don't know how they cut him. Or even just put him straight to the practice squad. And then you have a scenario where like, okay, we know Cam Akers is making the team. Kyren Williams, by all accounts, is making the teams.
Then what?
Like, are we cutting Royce Freeman?
Well, that's the thing too. How many do you keep?
Yeah.
And when you decide how many you want, then what names do you get rid of? Because honestly, and I can say this decently confidently, with the limited information that we have right now, I like Cam Akers, I like Kyren Williams, I like Royce Freeman, I like Zach Evans, I like Ronnie Rivers. So it's like we're not going to keep all of them. So we're going to cut guys that at least I like. I don't know about how everybody feels about it, but I like Ronnie Rivers too, and I would love to see him stick around. But then you have to consider like, okay, well then who leaves? Is it Zach Evans?
Yeah,
like it was good, but it was a rookie in his first preseason game. We can't hold that against him. We can't be like, oh, he's not good at football. He didn't do this good in one game, so it's a tough one, man.
And I feel like Ronnie Rivers, like just having him there, even as a special teams player, seems like a good role for him. Kind of a Benny Cunningham role, if you will. So I'd say that was a name that definitely jumped out to me. But I'll also say one of the question marks that I had coming out of this is, why is Ben Skoranek playing in this game? And I know a lot of Ram fans want him cut. I know a lot of Ram fans that want him to just be a fullback full time. I know Ram fans that are cheering on this 7th round guy. You coined the phrase the SCO plow. And it would be hard to see.
Gee, that was you.
Was that me?
That was you. I stole that from you. Don't give me that credit.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. We talk so much, I forget who came up with these nicknames. But are you sure? I thought it was anyway. But it'll be interesting to see. If a guy like Ben Skoranek can make this team, right? Because bringing in these veteran wide receivers, you can't tell me that Ty Johnson on his grab bag catch didn't look way better than Ben Skoranek's really ever looked in his career. So how do you cut Demarcus Robinson or Johnson and keep Ben Skoranek, and then also that running back room, and then the tight end? I don't even know where to start on the tight end room.
All those 3 rooms. So you can look at wide receiver, running back, and did I say wide receiver? Wide receiver, tight end, running back are the ones that I'm talking about here. All 3 of those have guys that are gonna get cut that we're probably like, oh man, like what? I honestly like, and I know that he's dealing with some injuries, but right now I would almost kind of put Davis Allen, the rookie, drafted rookie, into that grouping of like possible, like, yeah, we don't know if he's going to make this or not. Zach Evans, I put in there of like, yeah, we don't know. He's a 6th-round running back. I mean, that's not a guarantee that you're making this roster. And then the wide receiver position, I'm already feeling pretty confident that a guy like Lance McCutcheon not going to make the team. I think he's just too far down. And it's not because I don't like Lance McCutcheon. It's because I just think he's too far down. I don't see him fighting a way into this roster spot because, again, above him, who do you take off of the roster to keep him? And I just don't have any names that I would rather do that with. So it's those 3 rooms, man, that I don't know. I'm glad I'm not making the calls. Right. I'll say that because I have a hard time even thinking from the outsider's perspective, even of like, who would I keep and who would I not? Yeah, it's tough, man.
And I'll just say this about Lance McCutcheon, and this is how cutthroat the NFL is. He had very limited opportunities last year, but the reality is he did have opportunities, and that's a lot more than most undrafted wide receivers would ever get. And he didn't get that much involvement in the offense last year in the season. And then this year, when you look at all of our other wide receivers, I don't know how Lance McCutcheon makes this team unless they're planning on keeping just a massive amount, like 8 wide receivers.
Well, and that begs the question too, is like, if you're gonna keep extra at a spot, where are you pulling from? What spot are you ignoring essentially? Because I was even looking, like, there's so many battles going on right now. Obviously, wide receiver was one I was keeping a close eye on. All of the offensive line I was keeping an eye on. And then like obviously running back, stuff like that. Stetson Bennett, I kind of feel, even entering the game, I felt confident he's just going to be our QB2. And I'd be surprised if we keep more than 2. I think that Stafford and Bennett is a totally acceptable room for the wide receiver or for the quarterbacks. And I think that's going to be fine. But so you got like a spot there that you're not really holding on to. Maybe Rippon sticks around on the practice squad. Maybe he gets signed off of it. If he does, maybe Dresser Wynn comes or whatever. So, but linebacker was a spot that I was kind of looking at as well of like, well, it's like you're going to need to make some money on special teams. And there was some guys who did, who I think did a good job on special teams. Hummel was one that I don't think was looking good in the defense, but he looked really good on special teams. So I think he gets his job that way,
Yeah, and Hummel's another one of the things that like you only know the name if you're a Rams fan, right? Yeah. You only know the name. But yeah, and now that being said, and again, it's the first preseason game. We don't want to overreact. There's that caveat. I am super concerned about this special team unit. I would say
I think that's fair.
It's like, I think you and I have talked about how I think this defense is actually going to start off pretty slow and lock it down kind of mid-season and finish strong. It's preseason.
It's
preseason. I just think with so many new players, I really think this defense will start off that way. However, if this special teams unit struggles all season long, that is a legitimate concern.
There's a few things that I saw. Coverage was definitely rough.
Yeah.
I don't think guys were staying in their lanes. I think that people were kind of just going down trying to make a play and then leaving it open. But also, I mean, let's also consider this. I was talking to my dad about this earlier. He's a Chargers fan, right? So he told me that I'm already missing the name. I'm so Ram focused right now that I basically would forget who Patrick Mahomes is at this point. But so that wide receiver that took that punt return back, he was drafted to be the team's punt returner. So from that team's perspective, from the Chargers' perspective, they just got a perfect example of them nailing a pick, right? So that's also something to consider, that as much as the Rams have guys that we're trying to build a roster with, and we have guys that are battling for their lives and stuff like that, same things happening on the other side. So every team we play has got the same things going on. They got guys fighting for a roster spot. So bad plays are going to happen. You win some, you lose some. That's just the way it's going to be, right? But special teams for sure. What I was looking at is Ethan Evans might have too strong of a freaking leg. All right. he's kicking the hell out of his coverage. You can't do that. Like he just has to learn a way to like rein it in a little bit in certain situations. Because they're like on the punt return, and there was a few more later that he was just bombing it, didn't even have time to get down there as gunners to try to defend that. So like that kind of stuff too. It's like get that out in preseason, in the first preseason game. Let this come up in the film room all week, and let Chase Blackburn be like, "Hey man, you can't be doing this right here. This with his laser pointer circling it, like this cannot happen, man. You got to give them a chance to get down there." So I think ultimately we got a lot of really good things to look at from a first preseason game. Some very good like coachable moments out of this one, which I'm really excited about. Because again, we had like 40 guys seeing a football field for the first time ever, an NFL field for the first time ever. So of course, nerves are there. That you're thinking about so many different things. Like, what am I doing? What am I supposed to be doing? Like, where do I go? What is this guy doing here? Like, you're trying to read so many things. It'll slow down. And I keep saying it too, that like the week 1 Rams and the week 18 Rams, they're going to be 2 completely different teams. Because of the experience at that point, right? So that's kind of what we're waiting on now. We have to bring it up though, because it didn't look good last year before injury, and so far this year, not good either. Logan Bruss at right tackle now. So last year he was sitting in at guard, and the Rams just needed more interior offensive linemen, so that's where he was sitting. Was getting absolutely lit up. I remember watching him get bull rushed and just being like, "Oh my gosh, this is terrible." Then of course, his leg absolutely explodes. He's ACL, MCL, just bad stuff, right? And so he misses that whole year. And then this year, we actually got the information that not only is he not going to be a starter, he's going to be a backup right tackle, but he's moving back to right tackle, which is what we are now being told his position, right?
Right.
But dude, that was not good, man. He is getting eaten up on that right side. And I felt like at some point he was going to kind of wiggle into it and be like, okay, no, it's just early. He hasn't played in over a year. Like let's let him sit in. Didn't happen, man. Did not happen.
And that's the thing. The sports psychology like around injuries is fascinating to me, right?
Yeah.
Where I like when you look at his build, his physique, by all accounts, he looks like he can be a mauler. He can be a fantastic offensive lineman in the NFL. Breast the bus. But you're right. In what we saw in that preseason game, he kind of looked at a place, and maybe that it just took that one game to get over that hump, and you see that, and that's why preseason.
Dude, I'm hoping, man.
Exactly, but then you just don't know. You don't know, right? What's going to happen, and I hope the Rams set him up for success. I really do. I think that he'll have every opportunity to be a good offensive lineman, and we'll see what happens. But shout out to everyone in the chat.
Yeah, I was actually just gonna start pulling up a few of these, but I was gonna say also is like, and I don't want this to come out across like I'm bashing Bruss at all.
Yeah.
But like what I can say based on that performance is, at least we're probably not going to see him this year. Like just give him that year to still sit. He's going to practice every day, and let him get better that way. Maybe he's a bit of a late bloomer, okay? Maybe we just need to give him a little bit of time and settle in. But I will say, man, Avila, different ball game entirely, dude. Dude is a brick wall. He is, he looks like a hit, honestly. Like, he looks like the best top pick for the Rams in years already.
Yeah. I'm really thankful for just, like, when you saw him on the sideline of the preseason game, you're like, oh, yeah. That guy's where he's supposed to be. Like he should be in a Rams uniform. Yeah.
He absolutely, 100%. We'll go through a few comments here with you, Peo here. So Edwin says, Puka, wide receiver 3 over 2-2, with a little smiley face in there. So I feel like he's being a little bit facetious, but ultimately, I would say this is not true, at least to start the season, although I do anticipate that Puka does get more and more reps as the season goes on. And I will even go so far as to say, I don't think it's impossible that Puka slips in at number 2 over Jefferson throughout the season.
And the reality is, from what we've seen of Tutu so far, he still has the label of a one-trick pony.
Yes.
Right? Puka in one preseason game is not a one-trick pony. Like, I think he can play outside. He can play in the slot. Like, you could get him on a jet sweep. There's so much you could do with Puka.
do it. And we kind of teased the jet sweeps, which I absolutely loved, that we didn't actually do it, but we put it in motion a lot. And I was like, all right,
Yeah.
this is going to be good. But he had a couple of just his get offs, man. Like that's what I was kind of looking for Puka, because he's been working so closely with Cooper Kupp that I wanted to see how he was like, just his movements and stuff. And not necessarily if he's scoring 80 touchdowns, but just like how he's getting open, how he's finding his way into the offense. And he had a couple of like get offs off the line. They were like, holy crap, is that Kupp wearing a number 17 jersey out here? Like, it was just the way he was moving. You're like, oh my gosh, like he's got that Kupp movement to him. So that was really cool to see, man. But I think he's absolutely going to get a decent chunk of playing time. And I really do think he might slip in over Jefferson as the season continues. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly.
Yeah, I can see it.
Let's see here. So another one from Edwin here. I knew Travius Hodges-Tomlinson. I was going to ball out. He definitely plays bigger than he is. Love to see it. Dude, this guy is a football player. And I feel like every time I talk about Tomlinson, there's always somebody who's like, yeah, whatever, late round corner. It's like everybody thinks their late round corner is going to hit. And I don't know why that's the voice that I choose for these people, but it's very deliberate.
The voice of public opinion.
But it's like those late round picks are not Trey Tomlinson, though. It's like, I'm not saying this because it's a late round corner pick and I like corners. I tend to be a fan of corners in secondary players. It's like, no, he's legitimately a damn good football player. And I think he's showing it in camp and in so far in preseason. I think he's going to show it all year this year. What do you think about Tomlinson?
You know what? I'll say this. When you trade Jalen Ramsey, the best cornerback in football, you better have a plan to at least attempt to replace his production. You're probably not going to do it in one player, but Tomlinson is part of that plan, right? Yeah. And from what we've seen, I like it. I like it a lot. I still believe I do think this defense is going to start slow. They'll give up some big plays. Tomlinson might be one of those people that kind of gets a magnifying glass on him a little bit. But I do think as the season goes on, the secondary will lock it down as long as they stay healthy.
I absolutely agree. Because health, obviously a big concern there. And yeah, you're absolutely right. With just the youth that is in that grouping, there's going to be some mistakes. There's going to be some guys that think that somebody's covered and they're not, so they come up on a play and get burnt deep, whatever. That stuff's going to happen. I think as fans going into this year specifically, we have to just understand that we're going to give up some big plays here and there, and like it's just going to happen. And I think also we've got guys that are talented enough. They're going to take chances and stuff. And so we'll also see some pretty sick stuff. Because, like, I don't know if you remember Janoris Jenkins' rookie season, but even as a rookie, it was like we kind of knew, like, okay, this guy's going to score touchdowns. He's also going to give up some. Like, if he gives up one and then score the zone, call it a wash, we're good. So,
and the thing is, like, if your defense gives up a lot of big plays and gives up, touchdowns and lets points on the board, the way to counter that is you get turnovers and takeaways, right? So I think as Ram fans, we're hoping the first couple of weeks that they're going to be higher scoring games, and you hope our offense can really put some points on the board to kind of match. And you do hope that we can generate some fumbles and some interceptions.
Which hopefully, I mean, last year didn't really go our way as far as turnovers go, but Edwin also says, we cannot set the edge to save our lives. What I did see from the edge, like specifically the OLBs did have a hard time setting the edge. But what I did like to see was on multiple occasions, Trey Tomlinson came down and set that edge. And also Christian Roseboom, all the way from the inside linebacker spot, depending on where the play was going, he was also coming around and doing it. I thought, honestly, severely underrated performance from Christian Roseboom. Yeah. I think he played great. I say he thinks he played great. I don't know what he thinks. He might think he played terrible. I don't know. But
he's a very confident individual.
Yeah. But I thought he played great. He was in the right spot. I think there was a couple spots on play action where he did look a little like lost in the defense a little bit, but there was also plays where you can see him right after the play talking to Byron Young. Byron Young, I don't know how everybody's viewing him. I thought he was fine. All things considered, it was his first time touching an NFL field. I thought he was doing a good job. I see a lot of people that were kind of pretty harsh on him. They're saying like, oh, he didn't get after it enough. There was a lot of plays where if the quarterback was holding on to it a little bit longer, he was getting in there. And then like obviously he had the one that got called back and stuff like that. But I thought he played fine. But there was a few where they were like talking afterwards, and so that's the kind of stuff I like to see. That's the leadership stuff that I'm looking to see in the preseason is like Byron Young after the play coming up to Christian Roseboom and being like, "Hey man, I saw this over here," and you can see like pointing at stuff.
Yeah,
That kind of stuff I like to see. But what did you pay any close attention to those linebackers and maybe Roseboom?
yeah. Like I'll just say this about Byron Young is I think he's one of those players that will like we're gonna see him come so close at the start of the year, but he's someone that, especially his rookie year, we're gonna see get better and better as the year goes on. So I actually do think if there's we have so many rookies on this defense, but if there is one rookie who has a chance of being in that conversation at the end of the year for defensive rookie of the year, Byron Young would be the best candidate. I think he has the talent. I think he's a smart player. I think that he, when you hear him, in the like clips and interviews that you hear, from camp and things like that, he's someone who wants to be great. He's seeking greatness. I love seeing the interactions with him and like AD and stuff. So I'm pumped about Byron Young still. One preseason game where sure he maybe didn't have those sacks or the big tackle for a loss that we would have loved to see, but he definitely was getting in the pocket and in the backfield.
Yeah, he was, and that's the thing is like when you go from college to NFL, I think that's like maybe one of the things too, and maybe it's something he's kind of talked about of like, oh, the speed of the game. Like if this was college, I'm getting home, but this is the NFL now, so I'm not. So just got to speed up a little bit. That's possible.
And the Chargers quarterback, I'm forgetting his name, but he actually played like pretty decent.
Easton Stick is actually a solid backup, man.
Yeah, and I thought like Stick did a good job of getting the ball out quickly.
Yeah, Duggan looked like butt cheeks, but Stick was good, man. Duggan was getting smoked, bro. First of all, I think I out loud was like, dang, Tanner, that man's got a family. Leave him alone.
Yeah.
Tanner Eagle comes in and blasts. I was like, dang, bro. It's preseason, Tanner. Relax. Anyway, moving on here to Bill. He says, run defense is terrible. I mean, it wasn't good. I'll say that. But also, let's consider – I'll comment this again.
Put the asterisks on. Yep.
Let's – Where'd it go? It's preseason. Okay. And so it's also, you got to consider the Chargers were doing a lot of work with their offensive line, and that's a position that they've really been focused on. So they've really had they've made it a point to upgrade that position group. So they were also trying to flex it a little bit on us. And I think that's got to be considered. Also, you look at the amount of young guys that the Rams have right now. I think it's totally reasonable to say that we probably weren't necessarily scheming to stop the run, because a lot of guys just off the line were just like picking the wrong hole, just like they were just going the wrong direction, and so it's impossible for me to say that yes, the Rams' run defense is terrible based on one preseason game against a team that blatantly wanted to run the rock a lot. So I think it was kind of a perfect storm for that game specifically to make the Rams' run defense just look bad. Whether or not that's a true thing or not, I do feel that way.
I definitely, I do have concerns though. Like just, what, having a bad run defense is one thing, but it's when you give up a lot of like big chunk yard, run plays. Yeah. And that's what the Chargers did. They were able to do that to us on Saturday. And so hopefully we can lock that down and clean that up.
Well, I mean, yeah. And you also got to consider the guys that weren't playing, Yeah. It's is Ernest Jones hitting the wrong hole instead of Jake Hummel hitting the wrong hole? Like, I mean, it's a whole different thing. So to say our run defense is terrible, yeah, it was on Saturday. Like, no joke, it was. Like
the first preseason game of the year, it was.
Yeah, but does that mean it will be week 1 in Seattle? Not necessarily.
Yeah.
It's possible, but I mean, we'll see. And then they also followed it up with, how about picking up Robert Quinn or Justin Houston? I would love Quinn simply because I'm a big Quinn fan. I don't think that this move needs to happen. I don't think any other moves need to happen. I was surprised at the Johnson move already. And I think, again, it's one of those things where this is a season where we know we're trying to evaluate our young talent. So let's not keep taking away reps from those guys. which is really what I feel like John Johnson's doing. Although I know he says like he feels better than he's ever felt, but like I was really excited for Taylor, man. Like and I wanted to see Taylor a lot, and now we're going to see Johnson, which is fine. Like, but I like Johnson. Like I like Johnson, but I also like East. I like Lake. I like Taylor. Like I don't know. It's just I want to see all these guys, but I don't think we need to add.
I'll say this: the signing of Johnson, I actually think, just based on him as a player and a person, I actually think helps our young secondary more than takes away reps from them.
He was also here with Aubrey Pleasant, which I think is huge.
True, yeah.
Because he can now also take that because Fuller had the one season, I think, with Pleasant, if I'm not mistaken. So that would mean that Johnson is really the most experienced guy under that. But of course, like continuity is big right now as far as the coaching staff goes. That's why like people, and I know I've been one of the people who's been really harsh on Raheem Morris, but now I'm one of the ones that's like, no, we needed to keep him. Like we had so much roster turnover that we didn't need to couple that with coaching staff turnover. Yeah. So I'm kind of locked in on this one here. Okay, who knew we had a guy named Zach Van Valkenburg? I did. Great football name. I like the name Van Valkenburg. That's a great football name. I don't know if maybe I put it in the same echelon as the last name Sensabaugh for just a sick name on the back of a football jersey.
Yeah.
Sensabaugh. I loved that. You remember Cody Sensabaugh?
I do. I still think my favorite, I'm going to butcher this, Mike Humanawanui.
It's Humanawanui.
Humanawanui.
Yeah. Michael Humanawanui.
I love that they had to get the smaller font to get it on the jersey.
That's the best. When they got to go baby letters on it, that's when you know it's a good name. Because I take a lot of pride in my pronunciation. That's why I get frustrated when I screw it up. But like, because like there was a while there we had Humanawanui, Tinui Samoa, and Oshimago Atagwe, and it was like, all right, it was like I'm nailing this right now, though, man. Like I got this. And then of course, you get like, Robert Woods. You're like, all right, I know how to say that. Like
Obo Okawanko. I still mess up Obo's name. Oh man.
Obania Okoronkwo.
There you go. You got it.
Yeah.
See, I'm quick to the nicknames of like, oh, just call him Obo. Right?
Yeah. Well, and there's the one right now, Anya Balechi, I think is how you say it. The one of our linebackers.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got a few, but we've definitely eased up on the obnoxious names here.
Yeah.
Rams house. Whose house?
Rams house.
Thought that Young didn't play as well as I thought. What?
Thought that what was that thought?
I think Young played well for considering that it is his first time touching an NFL field. That's the thing though that I kind of like. It's like that's going to be my big thing. All right, it's preseason. It's like let these guys get. it's so obnoxious. It's so preseason. It's my asterisk on all the comments we make tonight. It's like it's preseason. It's preseason, so like I don't know. I think he played fine, and there's things that every single guy that touched the field could have improved on, right?
Yeah.
There's not a single guy out there you're like that was perfect, exactly like that forever now. Like that's not the case. So
wait, Joe, are you saying that they play preseason games so that players can play and get better?
These matter. If you don't win preseason games, you're not winning the Super Bowl, Peo.
That's such a hot take. Wow, like oh man.
Dude, okay, so we have a swap in facial hair here. Cooper Kupp shaved as Sean McVay grew his out. So what's really going on in these locker rooms, dog?
I think wives have something to say with it. It has something about
it's got to be. Well, and maybe by the time Sean has a baby, maybe he's gonna clean it up. But also, nobody was commenting on the fact that Brandon Staley also grew out his beard in that game.
yeah, forgot about that. Yeah,
they both were rocking beards, man. I don't know if that's like an LA coach thing that this is the season of beards. I continued my season of obnoxiousness, so normally I feel like I look a little different going into each season. This year, I'm extending it. So, mustache, longer hair. Do you have any plans for your? Do you have any like luck or anything? Because so far I'm feeling like the mustache is terrible luck. I'll be honest.
I think it looks all right on you. I'm personally, for me, I'm one of those people. I don't make a big deal about my beard. It grows when I want to trim it. I do.
Fair enough. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the most boring answer I can imagine, but I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
No, and like the other, like to make it even more boring is like I give a lot of presentations for work, so like there is an element of like I got to keep my near, nicely lined and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
See, on the opposite side of that, I'm a nighttime DJ at a rock radio station, so I can look as obnoxious as I want.
Yeah.
Right now. It's pretty fun.
Oh man, you know what, Joe? I see some really cool people in the chat that probably want us to talk about the Rams again.
That's probably true. Yeah. Well, Cody is saying we're surprised about the Rams getting rid of David Edwards at the time. All right, Cody, I'll jump in on this one real fast. I'm gonna say no, mainly because of the health issues that he was having last year.
Yeah.
And like being like what all of a sudden was like David Edwards is not playing, and it's like, whoa, what happened? And it's like, oh, he's dizzy, and it's like, oh my gosh, like, okay, yeah, don't go take care of yourself, bro. Don't be trying to like block people with your face if you're dizzy. So I don't know. I wasn't surprised to see the Rams really move on from him, but I don't know. I mainly I'm always a health first kind of person. Like I'm on the side of like I wish Damar Hamlin never returned to football. Not because I don't think he can do it, but because if something were to happen, now I'm super uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like that's just stay away, man. Whatever happened, it's like, okay, you did what you can. It's like a Bud Sasser thing where it's like he just called it before his career started and he was like, okay, that's fine. Do your thing.
I had a video idea I haven't made yet, but maybe one day I will, or maybe some other Rams content creator will, and I'll gladly support it, is do a where are they now for every offensive lineman that played for the Rams last season. Just because like
that kind of time, man.
I know, but like it and the reality is Edwards was part of that group of like just injury bug came in like a plague of Egypt and just wiped them out. So I guess surprise isn't really the word I would use. Just like kind of just it's expected.
It is, especially when it's stuff like that. When it's head stuff, I'm like, I know it's like I'm very old school football, and a lot of my mindsets of like if you get hurt, it's like, hey, if you can play, if you can physically get out there, then get out there kind of thing. But with head stuff, I'm the opposite. I'm very different on that. It's like if you even think that something might be going on with your head, stay out. Don't play.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's the thing is like David Edwards, the second I heard that, I kind of was like, okay, don't play this year, man. Like you're good. Like it's like it's already not going well for us. We don't need you risking your life to have the Rams win 5 games. Like it's gonna be okay, man. Like, but again, like I said, I'm on the side. I wish that Damar Hamlin just called it a career.
Mm-hmm.
I do. Just because it's like if anything happens now in the future, that's going to be a very uncomfortable conversation for everybody to have. Is like that. It was like, hey, he's back, and if we celebrate him coming back, I think it's weird, man. I don't know, and maybe I'm on a weird side of this stuff, and maybe I should just be happy for him. But to celebrate it is, I don't know. Maybe I'm alone. Maybe I'm alone.
It's an interesting perspective for sure. I think like first and foremost, I'm happy that like when players come back from injury that they're well and recover from that injury. And then I do think it's on the player and their loved ones around them to make a like decision of, okay, like, are we coming back?
Yeah.
Is it wise for me to come back?
Yeah, I agree. By the way, Bill says you look like an O-line coach. I disagree. I think he's got a ponytail and a much bigger beard.
Yeah, maybe I can get the beard by like October.
We're gonna totally change that topic with the most obnoxious one possible.
Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah.
27 days till the first game of the season, and 28 days till Tutu Atwell's gone on injured. Ouch, bro. I mean, yeah, maybe, but like, we'll see. But that's Tutu is in a weird spot right now, and I'm excited for Tutu mainly because he didn't play in this game, and you would think that if there was any question marks surrounding him from the coaching staff, that he would have played. If Skoranic's playing and Tutu's not, that tells us something.
Yeah. Even though I wasn't this, did you see Skoranic's little juke on the defender to get the big play?
Dude, Skoronic is such an interesting player. I'm trying to remember. was that an early play, like first quarter?
I think it was second quarter.
Because I was one of the people who is now full on beefing with NFL Network because they're like, oh, Rams game's at 7, everybody, or 7 my time. It's like, hey, Rams game kicking off at 6 o'clock Pacific time. Come on to NFL Network for the Rams game. And then all of a sudden they were like, no, psych, you're going to watch the fourth quarter of a boring preseason game and miss all the good stuff. And then at the bottom of the screen all the time, but check out NFL Plus. Don't miss a play with NFL Plus. It's like, dude, okay, don't tell us the game's going to be televised and then just push a streaming platform on us. Like, so either way, I've rewatched it since the first quarter, that is. But like, I was sitting there fuming, dude. I was so mad at NFL Network. I'm still beefing with them a little bit. We'll see how next week goes. If they do the same thing to us next week, I'm not going to do anything, but I'm going to be upset.
Send the Ramley after him, man. No, I don't have the same plight being in Canada. How I watch the game is way different than in the States, and I learned that last year of like, oh, Americans, it's complicated to find your game that you're trying to watch.
Well, and it wouldn't have been if I was just at home, but I was at work where I just have cable, and so it burned me. It burned me.
That's fair.
But no, I did not, to answer your question. At least I don't recall it right now. I'm watching so many things, man. Mainly the trenches. I'll be honest. When I'm watching the preseason games, I'm usually watching offensive, defensive line.
That's what you care. Yeah.
The Rams house asking who scores the first Rams touchdown. What do you think, man?
Like in week 1 against Seattle?
Yeah, let's go that one.
Okay, it's in Seattle, so it's going to be loud. You know what? I'm going to say I'm going to do a hot take here. Pick 6, Kobe Durant.
Woo! Dude, that would be sick.
And yeah, and then again, I think the defense, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I don't know do you remember the last time the Rams opened the season in Seattle?
What year was that? That was
2015.
Okay, that's
Nick
right.
Foles. It was a good game. It was a good game.
Damn.
Yeah, Nick Foles came in and I remember the game-winning touchdown. He delivered a dart, and I was yelling so much, and it was a fantastic game. If anyone wants Rams therapy, go look up Rams Seahawks 2015 week 1. So that was last time we opened it, and I'm hoping we can go in there and all the Seahawks fans that talk trash on on the internet and all the social media platforms, they can just go back to their nest and just remember that they're seagulls, because a Seahawk is just a cool way of saying seagull.
Yeah, because we've come to determine that a Seahawk, not a real thing.
No,
it doesn't exist.
It's a seagull, the most annoying bird in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's cool. And I know, like, the fan votes, though, I got to be honest. I think when you pick your team name from a fan vote, that's the most boring way to do it. Like, I get getting the fans involved, but I also fully support, like, this is who we are.
Yeah.
This is who we are here. Like, this, we are this team, and we live here. Like, support us or not. And so I think it's a very like gentle way to be like, okay, guys, we want to be an NFL team in your city, but like, what would you want us to be called? Like, it's like, no, just do it, dude. Just pick something. It's fine. But anyway, I don't know if the Commanders. I think that they're going to change.
I think they're going to change too. Yeah.
But I hope that they don't do a fan vote and they just go with like Red Hawks, Red Hogs, or Red Tails.
Yeah.
Bring back Red.
Yep.
Red something. Edwin says he's still debating paying the $400 for Sunday ticket. I don't do it, man. I'm not going to do it. I'll say this: I don't do it because I like to make game day a full-on event.
Yep.
I like to go out for game day. I like to have things to do. I know you do like your streams like that, so I'm sure there's like preparation for that, like getting stuff together and stuff. And I like that. I don't like to like get up, turn on the TV, and it's on. I can't do that. It doesn't feel real to me, I guess, at that point. But so that's why I don't get Sunday ticket. I'm not going to use it. Let's go out.
Yeah, so like in Canada, the only way I can watch Rams games is with a service called, this is such a stupid name. It's spelled DAZN, so it's pronounced DAZN, and it's this streaming service that pretty much everywhere in the world has the rights to NFL Game Pass except for America. And if you're not an American, that's the only way you can make sure that you watch every NFL game. And so I don't even try to like have cable or anything like that, because in Canada it's just way too expensive and complicated. But so I actually I normally Sundays get up, go to church, come back, make an epic lunch, and then I normally watch Red Zone, or if I'll switch between the games depending on which ones are like closest. And then of course when the Rams are on, I'm on, got the watch party. I don't care about anything else that happened that day except for what's going on with the Rams.
Absolutely. Rams House does say, knows for sure I'll be able to watch Rams Broncos. That's right, because I am in section, I think, 124.
That's sick.
I don't remember exactly. We're more closer to the Broncos tunnel, but after the game, we're just going to squeak on over because post halftime, they don't really care what you do. We've learned that the cool way. And Rams House also says, I wish you could just purchase a team package so you can watch all that team's games. But NFL will never do that. I don't know if they'll never do that. I think that right now that moving to a streaming service, like an online streaming service, I think actually does help this be a future thing, because it's like $400 is what Edwin is saying here. It's like, I'm never going to spend $400 on Sunday ticket. But if it's like a random day, maybe I'm sick, I'm at home, like I had to watch at home, like when I had COVID and stuff like that. Maybe that's the thing. I will absolutely drop $30 just to be able to watch the Rams game.
Yeah.
100%. I'm not going to spend $400 ever to get the whole season for every team. Yeah. Never going to do that. But absolutely, there's going to be those random weeks of the year where maybe I'm sick or something like that, and I'm going to be at home. I would spend a good chunk just to catch the Rams game.
This is this is outside of football, but it's going to be really interesting this year with all the network television being all like reality shows and game shows because of the writer's strike. It's because the NFL already dominates ratings, right? This year they're going to dominate them like tenfold, even more. So it's going to be interesting when they go to renegotiate the contracts, which I think it's till 2028 right now. I don't know. But like those contracts are going to be worth even more. Mm-hmm. And I think if there ever is going to be a package like that, where it's just like your one team that you can pay for, it'll have to come in like the renegotiation of like the streaming, because we're in very much a transitional media season right now.
It is very much a transitional period in NFL. It's weird too, because it's like there's certain things that I feel like are safe. And those things are very limited. Like I feel like NFL Red Zone, safe. Everybody loves Scott Hansen and 7 hours of commercial-free football. Like nice. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, love Scott. Yeah.
But like ESPN, clearly in a transitional period. And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, Pat McAfee's coming in and getting everybody fired." And it's like, first of all, they had the money to spend on all these people. What they're doing here is changing because they have to, right? So like, it's no longer. The formula of ESPN and how they were doing things is no longer okay. It's not like it's bad or canceled or anything. It's one of those where it's just not. It's not how people want to intake their media. And I think that Pat McAfee in his squad and them being so casual and not being afraid of topics, but giving their real thoughts and not just like following a teleprompter and just having conversations about topics. That's the next wave. Like that's the next. It's like you just want genuine dudes who have been there before, who know what's going on, like are just easy to talk to, and just like I feel like Pat McAfee, I feel like any of us could go onto his show, and he's going to talk to us like we go way back,
Wait,
And
but Joe, aren't you going to miss two people in suits debating like the Cowboys or debating MJ versus LeBron? Like
more than anything, dude. More than anything. That is the weird thing, because I dropped ESPN when they started really bringing in those argument shows.
Yeah.
I think PTI was the first one where I was like, oh, if this is the way this channel is going to go, I'm just going to watch something else. And that was a long time ago.
I enjoyed when it was Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless together for the sole reason of it was pure hysteria. And like you almost tuned in to see who was like hotter that day. But ever since they broke up, I'm just like, oh no, they have these level-headed people that balance them out. And like,
see, because like I would turn on the TV, and then like it would be like Stephen A. and Skip on there, and so like I would turn on the TV, and he's like, "You're gonna tell me," and it's like I'm gonna turn the top. Like that's it. That's all I've got. That's all I've got in me. Is just hearing Stephen A. yell, and it was like, okay, nope, I'm out. Don't care. That's gonna annoy me. Like.
And it does amaze me though that like if the Cowboys lose, Stephen A. Smith, so many people turn into ESPN to see Stephen A. Smith roast the Cowboys. Where I'm like, the Cowboys lost. Okay, like them losing is the same as like the Broncos losing in my books. Like right, like
yeah, you're like, all right, whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Those argument shows I can't do, man. So I'm glad that they're kind of switching up a little bit. Tom, by the way, says that it should just be the Washington Hogs.
Oh, yeah.
Which I totally feel is legitimate. I say Red Hogs. That's what I would like them to go by, because a lot of their aesthetics and stuff I think could stick around, and they could do some interesting things with the stadium out there, actually. Yeah. Edwin says when he feels sad, he goes back and watches the 2018 NFC Championship game. Makes him happy. Especially only legal tackle.
Only legal tackle, yeah.
Dude, that's so funny. First of all, you cannot have that jersey, Edwin. The dollar amount does not exist for you to be able to have that. Yeah, actually, I've watched that game so many times, front to back. And that one and both of our NFC Championship games are up on YouTube, the full versions of them.
I love that. Yeah, I've watched.
Oh, dude, that 49ers one, man, gets me every time. Like, because it really is one of those things where you're watching it unfold and you're like, I know we win, but like I'm stressed. Like
it was so intense. Yeah. And like I sometimes will like check out my watch party from that game and like see myself
God.
And then I like stress out with myself and I'm like, oh, I'm just giving myself way too much of an ego now by watching myself stress out.
Because it really is like that last drive where the Rams go down. It's like, that's stressful. And then like that last drive, you're like, all right, let's get it. And then it's one of those things too, where it happened in both that game and in the Super Bowl, where you get to a play, which was each play, you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say that, but like where you see it, and it's like, if there's a play where Aaron Donald's going to make a play, it's this one. It's this one. And you're just like, I remember watching him and like the way he breaks through and the way that he almost like, it almost feels like a lot of other guys would have let up on the play, but instead he just goes after him and goes after Jimmy and gets him. Like, it's one of those, man, where it's like, I remember watching him live. I watched him that whole play. And then as he flips it, then you see like, obviously ball goes up and you think like it's just going to be caught. And you're like, okay, maybe Traven Howard can make a tackle for a loss here. And it gets tipped up and like he catches it. We just lose our minds, dude. Like from like overly stressed to absolute like chaos in just Traven Howard catching that. And that is still to this day my favorite Greg Gaines tackle. Greg Gaines tackling Traven Howard.
Right. End the game. Don't just take the win. Yeah.
Every time I see that play, that's all I can really think about now is Greg Gaines being like, "No, go down."
No, you're not going anywhere else. So, I remember that was so funny.
So funny.
And you know what? Like it's games like that when people from other teams that are like, yeah, like Aaron Donald's good, but like is he really like the best of all time? You have to like when it amazes me, and I'm pretty sure you're in the same boat. I have seen every game and snap of Aaron Donald's career.
Yeah.
So many of those snaps are him making a tackle that changes the game.
Yeah.
And often, like in the Fisher era, it was the offense that let us down. It was not Aaron Donald in the defense, right?
Yeah.
And it just amazes me that, like, for people who don't know the greatness of Aaron Donald, where it's like, no, if you watch him, you'll see, like, he gets double teamed, triple teamed, sometimes quadruple teamed, and he still makes an impact on the play. He may not get the sack, but because he can, like, collapse a pocket, it creates that game-changing play. A lot of the interceptions that the Rams have gotten over the past couple of years have been because Aaron Donald was able to interrupt the pass of the quarterback.
There's like that one against the Cardinals where he pushes the offensive lineman into Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
He falls down and he just goes and touches him. Like, it's like stuff like that, man. But then also, like you said, it's like there's sometimes where it doesn't pop up in the stat sheet and also doesn't pop up in the highlights when Aaron Donald's got 3 guys stopping him, and then that's when Leonard Floyd or a Dante Fowler would go get a sack.
Totally.
And it's like, we know that stuff because it's like, oh my God, they use their entire offensive line to block one guy. Like, it's like, well, you got to, I guess, you know. But yeah, it's one of those things where people just don't. I don't think they get it because they see them when maybe their team plays us. And like Niners fans, I think are some of the biggest ones with this topic, and specifically because let's be real, historically speaking, Aaron Donald has like his biggest struggles against the Niners. And I don't know if it's because he gets so emotional or they just have a way of taking him out, but like it is a thing. He has a hard time against them sometimes. Like a lot of those regular season games, he's being taken out of the game. So
if anything, I think I give credit to Kyle Shanahan just game planning away from Donald for the most part.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, he misses time, and then people forget that he's a top 10 player. Whatever.
Yeah.
We do.
No, absolutely.
Rams house asking if we can go out to the field. No, I've never tried, but you know what? Actually, yes, do it. Just don't ask. Just go. They won't say anything. Let's go. Trying to get Rams house arrested. That's a good point in that NFC Championship game when Kupp, dude. Oh my God, that was one of those moments where you're like, all right, Kupp never does this.
Never does that. Yeah. No kidding. Yeah.
That's some good stuff, man. Love to see AD score a touchdown. Yes, this has to happen, dude. This has to happen. We need to see like a fridge style play.
Yeah.
Because who's going to tackle? Do you remember when Aaron Donald picked up that fumble against the Bucs a few years back? I know they had Jameis Winston still. And he was just like stiff arming dudes. Like he picks up the ball and he's just like just going, dude.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, who's gonna tackle him?
Right.
You don't have anybody. So
I think we need someone else to like swat the ball out of the quarterback's hand, and then Donald has to be the one to like pick it up. But like, how nuts would you go if AD scored a touchdown?
Dude, I want to see like a Robert Quinn versus Colts play, but with Aaron Donald. With the straps, the sack, strip, scoop, and score, the 4 S's. I want to see a play like that for AD. And I think that's kind of how it would happen. Or we'd have him back on like the 4-yard line or something like that, and he would knock out a ball and just like kind of fall on it in the end zone. I feel like that's kind of how it will happen. We'll see. Gil says, I was at the Rams-Chargers game last Saturday, and I felt it wasn't as energetic as in the past. Not sure if it was the same old thing playing the Chargers again in preseason or what. Hard to say, man. I think too that coming off of a 5-win season, fans are probably just pretty casual right now.
Yeah,
they're probably just being like, all right, well, let's see. I feel like that's the vibe of this year. Is like, all right, well, let's see.
And I feel like hardcore fans like you and I and most probably everyone watching this, that's the excitement of like, ooh, it's Christmas morning. We're going to open up this new team and we don't know what we're going to get. But then for like a casual fan that's like, I'm going to wait to find out if the Rams are good, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know, man. it's also one of those weird things where like you get so hyped for like, and I don't do this anymore. I used to like this. It's like I get so hyped for preseason, and then the game starts, and then you like that's when you remember it's still practice. And so like I used to like go and be like, yo, let's go, and then you see like run, incompletion, punt, run, incompletion, punt, and you're like, all right, well this isn't what I wanted it to be. And it's like, well, it's because it's not a game yet. Like it's just practice.
Do you remember so back when they had 4 preseason games, and it used to always be that like you always played most of your starters in the 3rd preseason game, and then the 4th one you rarely played anyone.
Like rehearsal, yeah.
Yeah, but like Jeff Fisher, who was like no other coach, was like, oh, we're gonna play our starters in the 4th preseason, and I remember like the Rams would light up teams in the first half because we would be playing against like their worst players that are getting cut tomorrow. Yeah. But the Rams have their first team offense out there.
that is kind of funny to think about. What is it? Their Ravens streak is absurd.
24 straight preseason wins. What a brag.
Dude, I don't know, but is there like pride in that with Ravens fans?
Oh yeah. Oh, I've seen it. I saw it like
that's
as soon as they won it. Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Because it's like at least if you've won a ring in that time, I think that's a little bit different. But it's like, oh, congratulations, you're the practice champs. Way to go. I don't know what you do.
Really good players that end up just getting cut.
Yeah. Your depth is absurd. But your starters though, nah, they're all right. Like they'll get you to the playoffs, but outside of that, that's kind of crazy that Paycor, Rams has saying that Paycor lets you go out onto the field, play pass after games. I've never been to an NFL field where they let you even on it, even when there's not a game. It's like at Lambeau Field, we're just doing the stadium tour, and like before we go out into the field, they like stop and turn, like do not touch the field. And it's like not even like the sideline area. It's like do not go out there at all. Like, so hey, okay. We did touch it though. We obviously went to the side. We're like, like
quick story. So I used to work for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, which are a CFL team here in Canada.
Oh, Johnny Manziel.
Hey, he was part of the biggest CFL trade ever. So we had this thing, and it was like, to this day, I'm blown away that this is still a thing in the CFL, that after each game, it was called Families on the Field. And you could go and literally the entire crowd can just hang out on the field of the game. You just can't take food or drink on there. But like, I remember like the game would finish at like 11 p.m. at night, and me and my buddies would go and just like toss a football around in the end zone till like 1 a.m.
Dude, what? That's awesome.
Yeah, no, it was really cool.
Dang. That is cool. Yeah, that's because I've even been told, like, even some of maybe somebody here has, because I have seen people out on the SoFi field before, but I've also seen people just on the sidelines during the stadium tour, and they said that they weren't allowed to touch the field.
So I went to the field when I was on the stadium tour.
You did?
Yeah, I got to go like center field on it. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I caught a touchdown the same place that Cooper Kupp caught the Super Bowl winning touchdown.
Hell yeah, dude! I need to throw a friend to the ground where Aaron Donald made that play on.
Yeah.
Just whip one of my homies to the ground. Just running around like.
We should just go to SoFi one day and just reenact
the whole game.
The whole game.
Oh man. Okay, so Rams house, because he's such a Jalen Ramsey fan, I'll pull him to the ground by his face mask, and then so he'll get that full experience, the whole Tim Higgins touchdown experience.
Oh man.
The Jets sold their soul for a Super Bowl. Welcome to the squad, Paul. Anti-tank is what we like to call it. You blow your future for dubs right now, man. It's the way to do it. It's the way for the future here. Looking forward to a poor man's Rams, baby. Hoist the trophy. That's all it is, man. That's all. somebody said that. Somebody said that the Rams like reverse tanked, and I thought that was like the funniest thing I've ever heard. It was like, dude, we did. Like we were like, it's like screw sucking to get good picks and stuff like that. That's the lame way to do it.
Yeah,
It's
no
like
kidding.
it's like be so good that you know that in like 2 years you're gonna be awful. Like, go all in, man. Like that's the way to do it. Jets are doing it right now. I respect it.
But here's my one thing though that like people forget about last season. Rams had Super Bowl expectations last season. The moves they made didn't work out with Robinson and Wagner, and then also like just the O-line injuries, things like that. Because like I feel like so many people in the media portray the Rams as like, oh, because they won their Super Bowl, that's what caused them to fall off a cliff the next year. No. It was injuries, like and very much like the weird situation with Cam Akers and things like that. And I'm always like cautious to say that like, hey, the Rams like they gave up their future to win that one Super Bowl. Well, no. They've been in 2 Super Bowls in the Sean McVay era. Yes, last year was a down year, but I argue it was a down year more because of injuries than lack of talent, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It was so many different things, obviously, and I've said it a billion times. I'll say it till I'm blue in the face again. But it's like when you have the NFL record for most starting offensive line combos in the NFL season, you go through 4 different starting quarterbacks. You never have your top 4 wide receivers together. You have chaos in the running back room. You lose guys like Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp. Like no one's going to win. No team in the NFL has depth that can overcome that.
No,
none.
No.
And when we start losing guys in the second preseason game on the offensive line, it's like, okay, well, what can you do? Like, and Baker Mayfield, he was starting games at quarterback. Like, nobody saw that coming. If you would have told me 1 year ago today, it's like, oh, by the way, Baker Mayfield's going to put up a 50 burger on the Broncos on Christmas Day. Like, that doesn't even make any sense. Like, I would call you crazy. I'd call your family and be like, hey, will you check on him? I think he's going insane, So, but then it happened. So I don't know. And obviously at Rams house, we can't. It's a different game. That's why. We are recreating the Super Bowl. All right. It's just you getting drugged to the ground by your face mask and then dropped interceptions. That's all you have.
Do you know what play I would want to reenact that's not in the playoffs though?
What?
Stafford's first touchdown pass to Van Jefferson.
Ooh, that's tough.
Where like he falls down and then you think he got tackled, but then you realize he didn't get tackled. He's going to the end zone. Ah!
I would do that same game, but Cooper Kupp's touchdown late, where he was like 30 yards away from everybody.
Right? Oh yeah, where he just totally faked out the entire defense. Yeah.
Where Stafford throws it deep, and then you like start seeing the defenders, and you're like, wait a second, like is there anybody there? It's like, oh yeah, Cooper Kupp by himself. Like, that's really cool, man. Oh yeah, by the way, happy birthday, Rampage!
Yeah, Rampage, best mascot in the NFL.
How old is he now? Like 9 or 10? How old is Rampage?
To the internet.
He was in St. Louis.
Do you remember the mascot before?
Yeah, but I also remember voting on the name Rampage. Because like there was Ramesses, Rambunctious I think was the old one, so they didn't want to use it.
In July of 2010, he was announced.
13?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. He came to the Rams the same year as Bradford? That's what
I guess, in retrospect, the Rams getting Sam Bradford, there was a lot of hype around them.
I bought my jersey so fast, bro. I wore it. I think it was week 11, if I'm not mistaken, in Denver. Rams at Broncos. And that was a good day, man. We left that day being first place in the NFC West, which was awesome. Won 33-36 after being up 33-13. So Broncos made it interesting. Yeah, that was good, man. Matthew Mulligan obviously scored 2 touchdowns. Everybody knows that. Denario Alexander had a couple sick catches, but I remember being like a little bummed because Steven Jackson only had like 46 yards. It was like, damn, man, I wanted to see Jackson go off on these dudes, but it was all right. Still, that's all that matters.
My first Rams game experience was the Rams versus Ravens in 2014. That was the game where Case Keenum got a concussion, and then Jeff Fisher put him back in the game. It was where me and my friend Nathan came up with the phrase "a punt fest," because I'm pretty sure that season it was the most punts recorded in a game that season, and it was like one punt away from like breaking the record for like most punts in the game. Like the Ravens won 13-10.
I feel like the Ravens have bad luck against the Ravens.
Yeah, they played it well, and I feel like we always play in Baltimore.
Well, I know that one in LA at the Coliseum, we lost by like $1 billion. Was that like 52-17 or something like that?
Yeah.
Oh wait, I've got the November 25th, 2019. Mark sent me one of the game pins from that one. So,
hey, Gil's got a question in the chat there.
Oh, cool.
Interesting. Yep.
The current hype is that the Niners are Super Bowl contenders. I truly believe Brock Purdy is going to have an average season at best. What do you guys think? This is a great question, Gil, because first of all, I don't think that they're Super Bowl contenders at all. I just don't. When you lose NFC championship games like they have so many times in a row, like something eventually will give, and it's usually not in the positive direction. Usually what will happen at that point is it will start to fall off. Brock Purdy, obviously, there's a reason he was Mr. Irrelevant, not a first-round pick, right? So there's weaknesses to his game. He's very fiery. I put him very much in that Austin Davis realm of like, yeah, he's a decent quarterback, and yeah, he's got good energy and stuff like that, but does he have it? I don't think so. And I also don't think that Trey Lance does. But also, let's keep in mind, Trey Lance has played like 4 games in the last 5 years or something. So he's got no experience, basically. Me and Trey Lance almost have equal amounts of football experience, right? So, and that's not good. So there's something about the 49ers this year that I feel like do take a step back. I think that Jimmy was a very good quarterback for them. But Brock Purdy and Trey Lance and even Darnold, who I actually think is their best option, if I'm being honest. But obviously that would be such a decision. If they started Darnold with a healthy Trey Lance and Brock Purdy, that would raise a lot of eyebrows. So I do think that that they're going to be a pretty average team this year. I don't see them in an NFC Championship game again. But it wouldn't surprise me to see a Lions-Giants NFC Championship game. So I'm a little all over the place in the NFC specifically, but I do think the 49ers take a step back. What do you think, Bayo?
I agree. I think they take a step back. I'd still see them. Okay, so let me caveat this. Depending on what their contract negotiation with Nick Bosa goes, and word on the street, or by the street I mean the internet, is they're waiting till Chris Jones's contract with the Chiefs gets done, because like they're in, like, he's in kind of a hold in situation or things like that, and like I guess because Nick Bosa is better than Chris Jones, right? So like there's comparable there. So like if Nick Bosa misses time because of his holdout, that's a really rocky way to start the season. And the 49ers have started slow the past 2 years and then really found their footing mid-season and, gone on a tear, mainly because of their defense. I think they're going to have to depend on that defense. And if Nick Bosa isn't there, I don't see them being this dominant team the way that they were last year. And I don't know. I think I'm not ready to say they missed the playoffs, but I do think they won't be as good as what people are making them out to be, mainly for a lot of the reasons you said. But I would also add, I think health is always an issue for them for whatever reason. I know that I hear so many 49ers fans criticize like, oh, they don't practice hard enough. Oh, they practice too hard. And the reality is the team just gets injury bug at weird times. I can't remember a season of my life where the 49ers didn't have quarterback drama of some kind. Like literally since Steve Young, right? Like Jeff Garcia, it was awkward, had a falling out with them. The Kaepernick stuff, Alex Smith stuff, like they just always seem to have quarterback drama, and I don't see that going anywhere soon, right? So that all season long they're gonna have this weird like, oh, they're like say Brock Purdy had a bad game. Oh, like maybe they look at the Darnold. Ooh, maybe Trey Lance. They got to see if he lives up to the hype. Oh, like he's the high risk, high reward guy. I don't know. So I can only take so much 49ers news in my life, but
that's fair. Yeah. I'd also say this though. It's like if Brock Purdy is the week 1 starter and say week 3 he's having a bad game, it's not just the pressure on the team to be like, oh, what about Trey Lance? What about Sam Darnold? It's the fan base. The fan base is going to get loud fast. So fan bases do get loud fast. Even it's like, I'm sure we all remember the 2016 season. Every time Case Keenum threw a pick, it was like, where's our rookie then? Give us Goff. That like
we traded so much for, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what are we doing? Like, and we saw that we've seen it so many different times. Even Sean Hill throws a pick. Put in Austin Davis. What are you're like that's just the way it is. And when you have high profile names like Trey Lance, who you traded up to get 3rd overall, Brock Purdy, who was in the NFC Championship game last year, and then Sam Darnold, who's been around, like now you have it 3 ways where everybody, the second one guy throws a pick or has a bad day, a bad drive, then you're calling for 2 other names. You're behind the 8 ball there. And I don't care who you are, that puts you in a tough spot. And as the coaching staff, you just can't make the right decision. It's one of those things where whatever decision you make, it was the wrong one because the other one was right. You know what I mean? Like you start Brock Purdy and lose a game. Well, you should have started Trey Lance. You start Trey Lance and he gets hurt or something like that. Well, you should have just been playing Purdy. Like you can't win. So I think they've already lost the fact that they're going into the season with these 3 guys on the roster. I think that they've already taken a step back.
And the one like caveat that could prove us both totally wrong is if they do have a healthy quarterback, whoever it is, and they just milk the CMC and Debo, offense. And Ayuk is no slouch either. Then add Kittle. Like they have talent at skill positions, and if that's the thing, if they get competent quarterback play, you could have an average quarterback look really good with that talent around them.
That's absolutely true. Yeah, it's just gotta don't screw it up. And I think honestly, I really think that's what Purdy was doing in the first place all last year. He was just not screwing it up. He wasn't like out there lighting anything up. He wasn't like making these plays where you're like, oh my God, who is this guy? It was just like, oh, okay, yeah. Debo was wide open in the middle of the field and he hit him. Whoa. Yeah. Like it wasn't impressive. It was just he was doing what he needed to do in the offense, Let's see here. So Paul says that I think Rams will bring on board a seasoned defensive lineman for this one season, maybe an edge rusher as well. It's very possible. I don't know who the Rams would go for right now. Money-wise, it's getting more and more snug. I know we didn't pay Johnson anything, but under his 1 year, maybe that'll develop into more next year. Mbappe for life. Hi. That's not the one I tried to click.
Joe, totally off topic, but there's something that I know I've said this to you in a text and Rams House in text, but I just want to say this on the internet, and no one talks about this, but this is so impressive what the Rams have done to their cap situation.
Yeah.
Like, what other owner in the NFL was be like, oh yeah, eat like $50+ million in dead cap hit so that in 1 year we totally resolve our cap situation. Mm-hmm. Like, look at all the teams you hear about, like the Cowboys having certain cap issues. The Saints have been in cap turmoil for like 5 years. And the Rams could have been in that boat, but they were like, oh, okay, wait, if we eat all of this in 1 year, then we can be like this super aggressive team again, right? Like it's amazing, and credit Les Snead and the front office; they've done a great job with that.
Well, it's one of those weird things that you look at. It's like if, like, obviously the Rams have had a pretty good stretch so far, right, in the last few years, pretty solid stretch. If you take 2 years to just eat it and win single-digit games, and then if we can hit it again next year and win the division and go back to the playoffs, it's like if you sell me that of like
Worth
we're
it.
going to be dope 8 out of 10 years, like we're going to be sick for 8 years in a row, and then just 2 years we're going to just eat it and be like pretty stripped down, a lot of rookies playing and stuff like that. But then after that, we'll be back at it, hitting it hard again, going after free agents and back to the playoffs. Give me that all day, every day. If you give me one legitimate, like in a decade span, which is only 10 years, right? So obviously we all know that, but it's, if you give me in a 10-year span, one real, true to life, legitimate shot at a Super Bowl, and then the other years will be lame, I'm in.
Yeah.
Look at all the teams who have never won. You know what I mean? Like, and like I saw the fact the other day that that blew my mind right off, honestly, that Sean McVay is only the 21st different head coach in the NFL to win a Super Bowl. And like, that makes sense, but it was like, oh man, because it's like you think of how many Bill has and like all this stuff. It's like holy crap, he's only the 21st. Only 21 guys have done this before.
That's crazy.
21 dudes have done what Sean McVay has done, right? So I don't know. It's if the Rams can just eat last year, which we started to eat last year, and we kind of like, you bring in Robinson and Wagner, kind of felt like they were trying to keep going, but it's like didn't really have it, you know. But then this year, like, we know what we're doing now. It's like you get rid of Floyd, you get rid of Ramsey, you just move on from guys. Quick to move on from Robinson, which I like too. It's like, and if we can hit it again next year, yeah, I'm all on board for this all the time. And it's like, I feel like if the Rams were in the 49ers situation with Trey Lance would have been traded by now. The Rams would have admitted their mistake and been like, all right, this isn't our guy, get him out.
Yeah. Like the Gurley contract comes to mind, the Goff contract comes to mind, the Brandon Cooks. Yeah, right? Where like, and I remember like so many people being like, oh, like, that Cooks contract or that Goff contract is going to set the Rams back 2 years. And it's like, it didn't.
That's the thing, though. It's like the Rams. One of my favorite things about this team right now and their whole mindset with everything is quick to admit mistakes and move on from it. To not dwell on your mistakes. Don't dwell on your mistakes like the 49ers are. Like, I think it's reasonable to say that they're dwelling on the Trey Lance mistake. They're trying to make it hit when realistically, if you have Brock Purdy, who took you to an NFC Championship game last year, you can say to everybody, hey, we have this third overall mobile quarterback who is shifty and stuff like that. It's like, what will you give us for him? I think that the haul that you could have gotten in return for a guy that you can still sell is like has potential. I think they missed out an opportunity to have a sweet return on a trade.
And that even goes back to like last year with Jimmy G when he was still under contract with them. Of like they were like, oh, we're gonna try and trade him, but then like because there was like the weird scenario with his health and stuff like that, so they missed out on an opportunity to trade him, and then they could have cut him at a certain point to save some cap, but then they were like, oh, you know what, we kind of want you as a backup, so then they made him like the highest paid backup in the NFL, and then he ended up getting injured in the season anyway, which again unfortunate, but. It's I'm so glad we're not the 49ers.
Yeah, that kind of stuff I just don't think would happen here. We just would have moved on. We'd just been like, all right, it's like clearly Trey Lance wasn't the guy. Maybe Brock Purdy is. So let's go ahead and move one of them. See what we can get. You know, like let's build around. Let's pick one and build around them. And not doing that, I think, is a
now. I will say this: for what they traded to get Trey Lance, I get why it's hard to move off him.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and especially if you're, the 49ers GM and the coach, like Kyle Shanahan, being like, oh, okay, you know what, wait, we really believed in this guy. Like, we traded up a lot to get him. And, like, I think maybe there's this part of them that wants him to work out, but, if he's struggling to win a backup job in year 3,
Well, that's exactly what brings me back to the Rams, though. Of like, you give Gurley a contract, you give Goff a contract, and then still, we're like the very next year, you're like, all right, it's not working out.
Yeah, he's dope.
Later, guys. Like, it's like, thanks for everything, but you gotta go. Like,
And even the Allen Robinson contract or the Bobby Wagner contract this year, right? Like they just got those contracts last year.
I would love to know more about the Bobby Wagner situation
Right.
and how that all went down.
Yeah.
Because all we heard is mutual agreement.
Yeah.
Mutually, they're going to move, and he goes back to his old team. There was something there that we don't know about. Like, so I don't know.
He looked better as 54, in my opinion.
He's honestly, him going back to Seattle, it was like, yeah. It was like, that was my thought. It was like, yeah, that's where he belongs. Like, it's like, it's like, it was fun, but I don't know. Okay, I want to talk about this, and I'm not going to name names here because I'm not trying to call anybody out. And maybe I'll make a poll in the YouTube. But James Laurinaitis. All right. So I've been
Love James Laurinaitis.
I just want to. Like, I'm just gonna put up.
Yeah.
Let me get over here real fast.
Yeah.
So
Do you mean the Rams franchise leading tackler, James Laurinaitis?
all right. Is James Laurinaitis dope? Yes or no? It's a very simple question. Was he awesome? Was he not awesome? Answer in the Twitter poll that I have now, the YouTube poll.
I have never rushed Twitter so much faster than I am right now.
Oh, sorry. It's all just on YouTube. It's under the comment section.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. So I just put it there. So I mean, I like to think it's obvious too. I like to think that this is obvious that obviously James Laurinaitis is pretty sick player. So far, 100% yes is coming through on my side.
Yeah, that votes for me.
Okay. And again, I'm not going to call anybody out, and I'm definitely not trying to talk trash about anybody. But it has been brought to my attention that there are a certain population of Rams fans do not like Laurinaitis, thought that he was quote unquote average at best, and that most of his tackles came downfield, and that he wasn't good against the run, and all this stuff. So I felt insane. I'm gonna be completely honest with you, man. When I was when I was having this conversation, I was like, there is no way that there's a Rams fan out here who's like, Laurinaitis, what a bum. Like, it's like, it's like very surprised by it. So I just want to ask the people here, because maybe, and then I almost gaslit myself. I was almost like, wait a second, am I misremembering James Laurinaitis? Like, did I not know what was going? And it was like, no, he's awesome. He's awesome. Now he's a coach. So yeah, still 100% coming in. Feel free to comment as well if you have any. Like, is James Laurinaitis dope? Yes or no?
So I'll say this: a lot of people forget about James Laurinaitis because of our coaching struggles during his tenure with the Rams.
Yeah.
But there is a legitimate argument that he's one of, like, in the past 20 years, one of the best linebackers, probably the best linebacker for the Rams.
I would say for the Rams in the past 20 years, yeah.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I thinking of the line, like, we've had some production from linebackers since him, but not on his level. Mm-hmm. And people forget that line when it was Donald, Brockers, Laurinaitis, Chris Long, like Ogletree was in there at some point. Like, it was that was a line, man. And James Laurinaitis was the play caller. And I think I have vague memories of Laurinaitis, like, in one game, he would like tackle the running back in the backfield for a loss. And then they would like the next play, James Laurinaitis would like tackle a wide receiver that caught it in like the flat. And then on like the third down, he would tackle a different player on the other side of the field. and he was just a beast.
He was all over the place, man. Like I don't know. To say underrated, it feels like that's what I should say now, simply because now that I know that there's Rams fans out there that don't think he was very good. Now I feel like it's like, oh no, he's underrated. But like, it's like, no, you're the crazy. I'm not the crazy one here. You are, man. It's like Lourdes was so sick for so long for this team. And he brought up Pro Bowls. He was like, well, how many Pro Bowls do you go to? And I was like, dude, you're gonna bring up Pro Bowls in that era of Rams football? Like, those didn't exist for us. We were ignored at that time because it was all fan votes. That was when it was all fan votes. It was like, we got ignored for that. It doesn't count.
Isaac Bruce, the best year of his career, he didn't make the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. By the way, that was a question that I saw on Twitter, and it was like, who just never looked right in a different team's jersey? I definitely posted Isaac Bruce in 49ers. Oh. It was like this one here. It was like this one here.
Excuse me while I throw up.
And I actually, you know what? I don't even know the realness on this story, but I heard that the Rams were doing some roster shaking, and that's why he was waived in the first place or cut in the first place, with the intentions of bringing him back. But apparently, and this is what I remember, and this I don't even know if this is real, but I remember reading the story that it was never communicated to his agent or to him that was the plan. So then in frustration, he and his agent were like, well, let's just go to the Niners, like, because they talked or whatever, and it was good there. I don't know the validity on that story, but for some reason, I remember reading this. I remember reading like, wait, he went to the Niners to get back at us because we didn't communicate, and I was so mad. I was like, Billy Devaney.
Oh, man, I was going to fight Billy Devaney move. Oh, that was a Devaney move.
Billy Devaney, dude. I was ready.
That's so dumb. Don't do that. Oh.
That's messed up.
And I do random trivia polls on my community tab. They're a lot of fun. Can I sorry, a car just passed my can I ask you my question that's going to post tomorrow? And I'm really curious to see if you're going to know this.
Yeah.
Okay. And chat, you can answer too. Who holds the record for the Rams for most kick return yards in a season?
That's tough, dude.
I looked it up today.
Because I feel like you don't ask that question if it's the obvious answer, right? Like, if it's somebody obvious, you can ask it.
No, it is not. It was definitely not obvious to me. I would have never have guessed this name as my first guess.
Can you give me? I don't know if that's too obvious. I was gonna say, can you give me a year window? But
you know what? I can give you a year window.
Okay.
It'll be a wider one. So it was between the year 2007 and 2012.
Oh. Trying to remember who was returning for us then.
Edwin, that's a good guess, but no, not Natson.
My brain is going to Givens.
It is not Chris Givens.
Okay.
It's not a bad guess. So, and I'll put this in perspective. This is the 12th most receiving yard or kick return yards in a season in NFL history, and then it's first by a Ram.
That does not help me.
Oh, okay.
Why would you? I love that you think that I would just know like the top 15.
Oh, it's true. Okay.
Seasons though. I love that. Dang, man. I'm trying to remember that time period. Oh, wait. It's not Stedman, is it?
No.
Did I tell you that that's why I don't feel comfortable calling Stetson Bennett Steady B? It's because of Stedman Bailey.
I didn't.
Like, he's Stedman Bailey.
You did not tell me that, but wow, that's wow.
Stedman Bailey is Steady B.
Yeah, you're right.
I feel comfortable using that for Stetson Bennett. Dude got shot in the head. Like, it's like that. Yeah. That's Steady B. Right? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's earned that forever.
But no, it's not Stedman Bailey.
If anybody wants to guess, I think I'm out of.
Okay.
I don't know, man.
So I'm going to give you the exact year.
That's probably not going to help, but I'll take it.
2009.
Oh, no way. First of all, I mean, I guess that makes sense because we were receiving a lot of kicks. We were so bad that year.
Yeah.
Dude, I don't know, man. I'm blanking on it.
Danny Amendola.
Ah, that makes sense. Damn it. I
Yeah.
should have guessed that, dude. Dang.
I
didn't want to come up with Danny.
Because I think we forget that Danny Amendola primarily was like made the Rams because of his kick return ability.
Yeah, he was a sick punt returner, man.
Yeah, but so I looked up in week 1 he didn't return kicks, but then it was week 2 against the Packers where they put him in, and his first kick return he made it like 40 yards. He didn't get a touchdown the entire season, but total he scored 1,618 return yards that year in 14 games.
I'm looking up the roster from that year. Kind of reluctantly, I'll be honest, because that's one of those years, man, where like I remember very vividly watching these games because like I remember watching the Rams-Lions game where like going into it, it was like, it's just like the two garbage teams of the league, and you're like,
yeah, it's like we need to win this.
Like, please win this game. Please win this game. Like I just remember that. I was gonna look here at the.
Yeah, that was tough. A tough era to watch.
Dude, Keenan Burton, he had the coolest car, man. Do you remember like what they call it, Rams rides? I think.
Vaguely.
Yeah, where players would go talk about their cars. He had this nice little classic, man. CJ Ayu, Victor Adeyanju. Good stuff, dude. Yeah, Danny Amendola, of course. Atagle was still here. Okay.
Yeah.
I think my brain was having a hard time grasping how long 2009 was. How long ago that was. It was the year I graduated, so that's good news. We had Kyle Bowler. Oh, my gosh. Dude, Kyle Bowler. All right. I had a wave of anger in me.
Wow, I forgot about Kyle Bowler. Oh,
we had
man.
one with Kyle Bowler, right, where I don't even remember who we were playing against. I want to say I think it was some kind of bird team. That's a wide open thing. So so we're at the 1 yard line, right? 1 yard line, and I think we're Rams are down by like 4 or 5. So need a touchdown to win. We have Steven freaking Jackson in the backfield, and so it's like, okay, yeah, we're just gonna punch this in, right?
Oh, it's coming back.
Fumbles the snap. Jackson doesn't even get the ball, dude. Like it's like I remember like the like you can see Steven Jackson like hit. Like, so, like, the ball snapped, and you see him take the step, and then you see him, like, turn around just, like, in disgust. And it was like, you got to be – all you needed to do was handle the step. Get it to Jackson, bro. Oh, my God. I've never been, like, more disappointed. That might have been the Niners, actually. Might have been playing the Niners that day.
I remember the fumble. It's coming back. I don't remember who it was with. 2009 was a rough year. And, like – you're totally right. It makes sense that that's the year that Danny Amendola got the most return yards because we got scored on a lot.
We were 1 in 15, dude. Of course, we we were receiving kicks like crazy.
Yeah.
And then James Butler. Do you remember that safety he had?
Yeah.
Where he intercepts the ball, comes out to like the 2, and then goes back to the end zone and gets tackled, and it's like even our good plays end up in points for like what?
Yeah.
What is going on here, man? Dude, okay, let me look at the games here. Let me see if I can find. It might have been this year. That's why I'm thinking of it. So I think we were in St. Louis. No, not that game. No, I don't know, man. I don't remember that year, but that one, man, that one gets me still to this day. Every time I hear Kyle Bowler, I'm like, oh, Kyle Bowler. Like,
So I'll admit to, I remember talking with my brother, being like, because Bulger, he had his struggles, things like that, like towards the end of his time. And I don't throw up for what I'm about to say. I remember being like, you know what? I think we should bench Bulger for Kyle Fuller. And then because of injury, they did. And like it was after like half a game being like, oh, we don't have a quarterback.
Yeah.
And that's when the QB carousel started until Bradford came
Yeah, really,
along.
it was. It was like because it was one of those things where like we kept passing on guys, on the top guys. We passed on like Matt Ryan, and then like Mark Sanchez.
Yeah.
Who else was in there that we kind of passed on? The one that we didn't get a shot at originally was Stafford because he was 1 overall, we were 2 overall. So
Yeah.
there was like a string in there though. We were like, can we just get a guy, please? Like, can we like we didn't need Chris Long, we didn't need this guy, like we didn't need that. Like, and it's like, of course it worked out on some of those guys, but it's like not all of them. Looking at you, Jason Smith. But like, it's like stuff like that where it's like we just kept passing on guys, and then eventually it was like, all right, we got our guy. And I was already mad about the Sam Bradford move in the first place because it was like he didn't even play last year. We don't know if he's gonna be good. Like, he looked solid a year ago, but he hasn't played. And it's like, so why burn a first overall pick on him? But it was like, all right, well, he's our guy. Let's go. And then obviously his rookie year looks good and stuff like that, but then goes down second year. I remember Harvey Dahl becoming one of my favorite players in one play at the Carolina Panthers because when Sam Bradford went down and Harvey Dahl came to like his defense and like because the dude like threw Bradford to the ground or whatever and then was like celebrating right on top of him. And Harvey Dahl just like, no.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. And then he also had a sick mic'd up moment against the Bengals that 1 year. I can't repeat here, but
I also think in the Bradford thing, back then, they maybe don't do this as much anymore, but like back then when we didn't have the internet like as we have it now, I remember people freaking out about Bradford's pro day. And like to this day, like people being like, oh, Sam Bradford had the best pro day ever. And like clearly he had such a good pro day that like he was the first overall pick. And then we were able to like leverage an injured Bradford for a trade for Nick Foles and a second round pick. And then he got traded again to the Vikings for involving a first round pick as well.
How much money did Bradford make?
So much.
I'm looking it up.
Yeah.
Because that's one of those players that like all things considered, he made more money than he should have, you know.
I'm really curious. Like, I would actually love, like, you know how they do like that Rams Legends, things like that. And by no means would I consider Bradford a legendary Ram, but like I would love a check-in with him now. Like, like what's he doing?
Oh wait, I'm sorry. Who?
Sam Bradford. I don't know what he's doing now.
So I just pulled up his career earnings tab.
Oh no.
Do you have a guess? Okay, I'll tell you this. From 2010 to 2018, those were his years active.
Yeah, okay. So I know.
And I'll give you this one too. Last mega deal for rookies.
Yeah, I know. I knew that.
The very next year, the CBA came into play where you couldn't just give a mega contract to a first overall pick.
He had the largest rookie first overall contract ever. Okay, wait, this is career earnings, not just the earnings he had with the Rams?
Yeah, career earnings. Like actual checks he deposited is what this is. Like not just.
I'm guessing it's got to be over $200 million.
Okay, no.
It's not?
No.
I know he got paid by the Cardinals.
This is money that got deposited. So like obviously he did make a lot from the Rams in that deal. The Eagles, I think, restructured some stuff. The Vikings paid him, and then also the Cardinals at the end there gave him more than they should have, but didn't overspend. But it was one of those where you're like, whoa, Cardinals. It's like he's not that good. Like, what are you doing?
The Cardinals with the Cardinals, yeah.
So you are overshooting, but it's at $130 million.
Okay, yeah. Wow.
And if we look at his stats.
How much was each of his touchdowns worth? Wow.
Over $100 million because he had 103. So more than $100 million on average per touchdown pass.
Not bad. Not a bad career, Sam.
Guess his yards real fast, bro. Career passing yards.
Oh, he can't be that much. He
I
only finished
would have overshot this.
like it's got to be is it over 10,000?
Yes.
Yeah, is it around 14,000?
Higher.
16,000.
It's 442.
Okay, yeah.
I would have probably said closer to 25 just because of how long he was around.
Yeah. Even though that's the thing, he was around for so long, but he was so injured, not just with the Rams, but with the Vikings, the Cardinals, the Eagles.
He was hurt everywhere, man. He
I
had a great year in Minnesota, though.
I remember a mentor of mine used to always call him the little glass quarterback, even though he wasn't that little of a guy.
We used to call him Sam Glassford, man.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh. So we'll wrap up here soon, but now we're taking a little stroll down memory lane here. But
yeah, no kidding.
There was that one where I remember watching the Browns Rams preseason game in Cleveland the next year after his first ACL. And so he'd finally come back after going down in Carolina. And so then he falls down. He goes down and you kind of see his face. And right away it was like, you've got to be kidding me, right? And then later on that night we get the tweet. It's like, hey, looks like everything's okay. We may have escaped the worst. And it was like, oh man, nice. I'm gonna sleep so easy tonight, man. We got our quarterback. Wake up the next day. Yeah, it's an ACL. He's out.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. Do you know what's funny is I actually remember because I had a test. Wow, this is flashback coming back. Is I had because it was near the beginning of the school year, and I had for the program that I was in, I had to write a certification test the next day.
Yeah.
And so I remember I was studying for it as I was watching this preseason game, but then you hear about it and you're like, oh, great. And then when it was okay, I could study and I slept. And then I went and I wrote my test. And then I came home and I was having lunch and my roommate was like, hey, Sam Bradford's done it for the year. And I'm like, no, he's not. They already announced that they missed it. He's like, no, they made a new announcement. I'm like, no.
It was one. It's like, oh no. Oh, okay. No,
yeah.
a weird little pat.
Playing with our emotions.
Yeah, and that was also in that weird little gap there where NFL news was just on NFL.com. That's where it wasn't just a tweet.
Yeah.
It would you just had to go find it. If you wanted football news, you had to go find it. Do you remember ever watching game casts? Watching it on the computer of just the little thing would be you're nice.
Well, and especially because I honestly it was so hit or miss if I could watch a Rams game back in the day. Just because of the and you probably have that in the market that you live in Colorado too. And so that's why DAZN, when I told you about that earlier, it came to Canada in 2014 and I was probably one of the first 10 people to be like, yep. It can guarantee me I can watch every Rams game. Sign me up. And I have a fathered in price to it. And I will never not cancel it. Never cancel it.
That's awesome. I started going out to the bar when I was 19 to start watching the games just because I was sick of just watching the score updates and stuff like that. So I was I got to go find a place to do this. So I went, found my bar that I go to. I still go there to this day, Kelly O'Brien's here in the Springs. But yeah, it was one of those things where they knew that we were too young. It's like that, but it was an understood thing of hey, as long as you're not trying to do anything sketchy, you're good, just be cool and stuff like that. So yeah, it was. I remember the first game that I went down there to watch was in 2010, and we're walking through trying to find the Rams game. I find the Rams game, look up at the TV, the ball is snapped. Sam Bradford is kind of moving around, shaking a little bit. He throws the ball to Danny Amendola, who makes that crazy layout catch against the Seahawks, where he started to go one way and then the ball comes the other way. And then so that plays up on YouTube under as good as it gets. That's what it's titled as. But that was the first play that I watched, and so I like look up, see that play, and it was like, this is where we watch the Rams games. Like, it's like until I die, this is where I watch these at. Yeah, fun year. 2010 was a fun year for me. Although I still have not forgiven Charlie Whitehurst, and I'm still mad at him and those Seahawks.
They shouldn't have won that game.
Because what the hell? 16-6, we couldn't even score a touchdown. Come on now. Okay. And we're the reason that the Beastquake play happened. Because if the Rams win that game, the Seahawks aren't even there. They can't do the Beastquake run. That doesn't even exist. Way to go, Charlie Whitehurst.
And the thing is, like, that year, I'm not saying we were going to win the Super Bowl, but, like, we had talent that could have done something in the playoffs.
The freaking Seahawks won a playoff game. They beat the Saints. Like, that could have been us.
Totally could have been us.
Could have been. All right. On that note, our comments have slowed down to a screeching halt here. 100% votes on the James Laurinaitis is dope. So sweet. I'll take that. There's only 5 of them, but it is 100%. So I'll take it. Other than that, man, Peo, where do we follow you, man?
Yeah, if you search me on YouTube, like my name says right here, I'll be the first thing that comes up. I do random skits and stuff like that about the Rams. Sometimes I make Rams videos if I want to, but I always host watch parties for all the Rams, and I'm trying to have as much fun on the platform as anyone else. So it's a fun time, and I'm hoping this NFL season to produce content that encourages people and that people can hopefully get a chuckle or two out of.
So as a person who is not Peo, I can confidently say that if you are looking for any kind of second screen experience, or maybe you just have access to YouTube or something like that and can't catch all the Rams games, anything like that, the watch party with Peo is absolutely an awesome time. Definitely worth checking out for sure. I get too locked in. Like I said, I am very much I'm an obnoxious fan. Not in like a way where I'm a jerk if people are watching with me or anything like that, but like I think too, I'm both loud and quiet. So like to like what you do and you'll like explain what's going on, what they would see from me is very much like that's like that would be a lot of the vibe instead of like actually just explaining like what is happening. So there's that part. So you do a good job, Peo. You do a good job.
Man. No, it's an honor to do it. And honestly, I love it when people in the chat say are like, dude, I can't get the game for whatever reason. Like you're like, thank you for doing this. I am like, okay, I'm so glad I can do this, even though I'm not like, I don't have the rights to show the game or anything, but I can do my best description of what's going on. And it seems like there's people out there that every Rams games, there's a couple people that need that. And so I'm happy to provide that service.
Are you able to do like the share screen to do like the Twitter highlights or no? Is that allowed?
You know what? I think it's allowed to an extent, but like you're risking it, right?
Yeah. I know that showing any plays, like if for anybody even watching this, if you see a YouTube channel that is showing plays, they're probably breaking the rules. Like they could probably get demonetized. So
yeah, and
it's very touchy subject to the NFL.
Like I know that you're allowed to show plays in shorts, and because like the shorts is different, but yeah, like on a live stream or something like that, like I don't have any rights to do that. So but
yeah, it's a touchy subject for sure. The NFL is very, very adamant about certain things.
But I will say I appreciate ESPN.com. I always show their little GameCast ticker that's there. It's not as cool as it used to be back in the day, but it's still like we'll show like what happened on the last play and things like that. And so it's a useful tool that I use.
Oh yeah, so YouTube's your main spot though, right?
Yeah, I don't have a desire for any other platform at this time.
I'm a little jealous of that. And in fact, if you know anybody who wants to do Ram Showcase social medias, I will fall off all of them.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't like doing social media. I like to participate in the real world. But what's up?
I just think it's so funny. Like when Twitter rebranded to X, I'm like, oh, should I just delete it? And I'm like, no, I use it. Like I just don't care about the drama of it.
I don't care either. And it's like it's just weird things too, and it's things that are irrelevant that have no reason to like frustrate me. But it's like there's certain fans out there that the only thing that they care about going into this season is the uniforms, and that's cool.
Yeah.
I get that if you don't like them or whatever, that's fine. But like some people, it's the only thing that they're talking about, and it's like, I mean, all right, that's cool.
It's nothing more than like a fun, like, oh, kind of cool conversation. But then, like, when people were mad that we're not getting new uniforms this year, I was like, there are so many better things to focus on.
Can I say that I was actually excited about it to not get them? Because first of all, I love the bone. So to not add an alternate, I'm stoked. That just means we see bone jerseys this year. But also, the reasoning that we got for not releasing uniforms was that Kevin Demoff, he was saying, he was like, nothing felt right. Nothing felt appropriate to drop this year. It's like, so we're going to go ahead and wait and figure out the good one to drop or whatever, which to me meant that like he saw that whatever they were going to release, the Rams fans were not going to like it.
Yeah.
The Rams fans are going to be like, this isn't what we're asking for, and then just get more upset about it. It didn't matter. Like some fans, for me, some fans like myself, and I don't know about you specifically, but like for me, whatever they give us, I'm gonna support it. I'll rock the new logo right here. Hell yeah. Like I got it. Like drop a new logo. Didn't love it at first. It says LA. I like it. I don't think it's too much to ask for being a Rams fan if our logo is just a Ram. We also have that though, so I guess it's whatever. But like, that's the thing. It's like they gave us this and it was like, okay, well, I don't love it, but hey, it's the Rams logo. So hell yeah, I'm going to rock it. The uniforms came out and it was like, okay, don't love the gradient numbers, but hey, it's the Rams uniform. So hell yeah, man, I'll buy it. Like I'll buy it. I'll rock it. Let's go. Like, let's play some football games now. So I don't know. And then there's some people on the other side of that like, I don't feel like anything that the team does, they'll be okay with. Like, it seems like everything that they do, it's like, what about this though? Like, it's like, okay, like, I mean, whatever. So I don't think you can make everybody happy. And I think that the Rams did what they could this year to be like, you know what, instead of just making everybody mad at us and dropping like a yellow jersey when everybody blatantly wants just the throwbacks back, let's just not.
No.
And so I think it's okay. I'm excited about it though. I'm excited for this next jersey. And also, I think I've talked about this with you, and I don't know if I've said it on Ram Showcase or not. But we've seen it with the Titans, the Jags, the Bucks. I'm sure there's other teams in there that I could list as well. Cleveland, where the rebrand, they reach a little too far and then pull back.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's just what the Rams do.
Yeah.
We rebranded, went too far. They're going to give us something new in a couple of years. It's not going to have gradient numbers. The horn on the sleeve's probably going to get fixed. That's just the way it goes. So I don't know. There's that part of it.
I'll be honest. I think in terms of like the only thing I'd love to see, and I've told you this, is if they're going to do another kind of throwback, like modern throwback kind of jersey, I would love to see just like a dark blue with a white horn sort of thing.
That'd be awesome. I don't know if we do that, but I would like it. Because I think the way that the Rams are set up right now too, because like I loved, by the way, the blue and white. When we went back to that after coming back to LA, I thought it was awesome. I think that the blue and white version of the snail logo, as we'll call it, just for so people know what I'm saying, the blue and white version of that, I think, is one of the cleanest logos this team's ever had. I think that one is so crispy. This one right here, like that, just the blue and white, I love that logo. Love the helmets. Didn't really mind the jerseys, especially if it wasn't the dark blue jerseys. If it was just the white and it just had a little bit of the gold on it, that didn't bother me. I thought it was a pretty clean look overall. But I love the obnoxiousness of this rebrand, so I'm also here for that. But again, I'm just one of those fans, man. I'll love whatever they give us. Whatever they give us, it is the Rams, so that to me means it's perfect.
Definitely, yeah.
He says our throwback home jerseys we rocked. Those were great. Great. Yeah. Honestly, my favorite jersey that the Rams have ever had. Absolutely. But we don't have them right now.
Joe, It's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Everyone,
Everyone,
I didn't mean to keep you up into the middle of the night where you're at. So sorry.
Hey, we could. If I didn't have to work tomorrow, man, I would be happy just streaming and talking Rams all night.
Can we do a marathon one day?
Yeah, we can.
Can we try to do that? Like a legitimate marathon where we just
totally do like a charity stream, just talking Rams for like 8 hours.
For just too long. Yeah. Just okay. We'll figure that out on our own time. But everybody,
and then we just like
go ahead.
We'll clip out segments of it as standalone videos
that are like 2 hours long. That's
we'll just title it 8 hours of talking about the Rams.
Okay, and that's the thing. We have to make the rule though. If we change subjects to start talking about the Niners quarterback situation or anything like that, like something has to happen, and we get like
the penalty of some kind. Yeah.
If it's going to be a charity, that just means that whoever changed the subjects has to donate $5. Every time you do it, you have to donate. All right.
Well, you know what? We'll think about that. We'll figure that out. Yeah.
All right, Peo. I'm going to drop you off of here, and then I'm going to do my own little outro here. But thanks for hanging out, man. Appreciate you.
Peace out, everybody. See you. Horns up. Go Rams.
All right. Now Peo's gone. We can talk. I'm just kidding. We can get into some real stuff now. Oh, I'm just kidding. But ramshowcase.com, I have some really cool stuff going on as far as some things that I'm working on right now, some things that are not officially listed yet. We'll be headed into that direction here soon. So I'll just give you the spoiler of what it is. I'm going through every single number from now, what is 0 to 99, and giving my best player for every single number of the history. That's my new project that I'm working on, but I do have some other projects that I am working on outside of that. So keep your eyes on ramshowcase.com, and I do have some things rolling out for the season. So partner with Ram Showcase Live, Ram Showcase Podcast, and ramshowcase.com as kind of a trio. I think all are going to try to work hand in hand in a way where Ram Showcase Live will be a lot, especially when the season starts, it'll be a lot geared towards the previous game and talking about the day before and what had all happened, not only in just the NFL in general, but very specifically the Rams game, and that's where we'll give out our game badges and stuff like that. And I will have some weekly content on ramshowcase.com that will be a little bit more, I guess we'll kind of see how that develops, but I've kind of got an idea in my brain of how I would like it to go. And then, of course, bring back the Ram Showcase podcast in its full glory as you are used to it. And that's all I'm going to say about that right now, as I've still nailed down some deets here. But, yeah, I'm excited for this season, excited to get back into the swing of Ram Showcase. Will be different from last year as far as the content rollout. So you will be updated on that as we dive into the full NFL season, the full scope of the NFL season come week 1 when the Rams get to play into Seattle. Should be in full swing by then for sure. So I would have no reason to not be in full swing by then. So that's what we're looking at. Peo basically hung out with me this whole time, which is absolutely awesome. Anybody's welcome to join these streams with me when I'm here on Mondays. We'll get back to it, of course, next Monday. Not sure exactly what time yet, but I will get that information as soon as I possibly can to you. And other than that, thanks for hanging out. It's been an awesome time, and we'll definitely see you next week. Look for Ram Showcase, the podcast version, to be released on – I'm looking at either Wednesday or Thursday this week. It might be pushed to Thursday because I do want to understand some practices and get as much information as I can from stuff like the press conferences and stuff like that before I really dive into the preview for this game that we have against the Raiders this week. Because this last one, we didn't really understand what was going to happen, and so that does change some things. We didn't know that like Dresser Wynn wasn't going to play and that Brett Rippon was going to start at quarterback and stuff like that. So we'll kind of dive into what we could possibly expect from this next preseason game, and then of course we'll try to create some interesting stuff when it comes to the Rams and Broncos game. Hopefully trying to put some cool stuff together for that as we dive into the season. And just if any Rams fans are going to be there, definitely reach out. Let's hang out. This is an empty beer, but we'll click our beers together and stuff like that. But it'll be a fun time for sure, and maybe get some – I don't know what exactly is going to come out of that game as far as like the stuff that I capture, but I would like to put something together for that as we head into the regular season, as that is, of course, our final preseason game. But ramshowcase.com, anything Ram Showcase related will be definitely updated there as far as latest podcasts, latest Ram Showcase lives. You can watch those all right on the homepage. So that's definitely where you're going to want to check out Ram Showcase and at Sheriff Joe Bags. That's where you can follow myself and the show as well. So until next Monday for Ram Showcase Live. But again, keep your eyes peeled for probably Thursday. If I say Wednesday or Thursday, probably just always go with the later date for the next episode.